Welcome back to Mr. Wicklam's virtual math classroom. Today what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at subtraction, and we're going to be looking at subtraction when we need to borrow. If you look at this first problem right here, what you're going to notice is that when you have bigger numbers on the top and smaller numbers on the bottom, you are good to go all day long for subtraction because it's simple. You have 7 minus 4. We can do that. We could take 4 away from 7. Okay, when we take 4 away from 7, we're left with 3. Okay, it's pretty simple. You have 7 up here, and we're just going to take 4 away. And we do that. We take 4 away, we're left with 3. Same thing over here. You have 7. Actually, these are tens blocks. So you have 7 tens blocks. Pretend these are tens blocks for me, please and thank you. And what we're going to do is we're just going to take 3 of them away. Okay, so you're left with 4. Simple, simple, simple subtraction problem. Stuff you've done before and stuff that you know exactly how to do. The hard part is when we get into borrowing. Okay, and borrowing really seems to trip people up. Okay, because first thing you have to notice is that with subtraction, if there is a bigger number on the bottom, like this, I have 3. Can I take 6 away from 3? Can I? No. I don't even have 6 to begin with to take away from 3. So therein lies the problem, right? Because the number is bigger on the bottom, I can't subtract. I need to subtract. So how do I go about that? Well, let's take a look in picture form. Okay, you look at this. I have 53, so I have 5 tens and I have 3 ones. I need to borrow. I need to make sure I have enough ones to cover this 6. How do I do that? Where can I borrow from? Well, the only place that you can borrow from is right here in the 10 spot. And because you have 10, if you look at my nice little diagram here, if you have a cube, which is 1,000, it equals 10 of the hundreds blocks. Okay? And so when you borrow from 1,000, you borrow 1. Every time what you're borrowing is you're borrowing 10. Because if I take 1 away from the 1,000, I take a cube away, I end up with 10 hundreds blocks. If I have a 100 block and I take 1 away, I end up with 10 tens blocks. If I take 1 10 block away, I end up with 10 ones, which is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a 10 block away. Scrap it. It's going to be gone. So my new picture is going to look something like this. I'm going to take 1 away, so I'm going to be left with 4 tens blocks. Because 5 minus 1 equals 4. Plain and simple. 3 plus 10 equals 13, because remember what I said, 1 10 block equals 10 ones. You guys have seen those base 10 models. It takes 10 of those little ones cubes to make a tens block. Okay, so I have 13 ones. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so what I did, took away a 10, tens block, which gave me 10 ones. Now, let's take a look at my diagram. So what I did is I borrowed. I went like this. I said, whoop, I'm taking 1 tens block away, and I get in return 10 ones blocks. So you can either do a 1 down here like this to signify you have 13, or you can just simply scratch it out and put 13 above. Now, let's take a look. If I have 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Can I now take 6 away from this 13? I absolutely can. Let's do that. So there's 6 down here on the bottom. Let's just get rid of this whole row. And how many am I left with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I am left with 7. Now, I have a bigger number on the top. So again, bigger number on the top, I can subtract all day long. 4 minus 3 is 1. So I have 17. If I take 36 away from 53, I am left with 17. Now what you're going to see in your book, and what's going to ask you to do, is if you have a bigger number on the bottom, it's going to say help. It's going to want you to say help. That's what it's going to say in your book. And then what you need to do is when it says help, you need to say 3 is less than 6. So what we're getting you used to is actually looking at the numbers, because a lot of you, and I will say this repeatedly, you'll try to subtract 3 from 6. And this is what a lot of you will do. We'll have something like, I'm just going to move over here into the margin. We're going to have 53 minus 36. And this is what you're going to do. Oh, 3 minus 6, well that's 3 and 2. What you're going to end up putting down is you're going to end up putting 23. Well, is that true? No, because you can even count on your fingers. Guys, you can count on your fingers that that's not true. Okay? Let me give you a clearer example of this. What if we did 10 minus 9? You guys already know that 10 minus 9 is 1. You know that. You know that for a certainty. But if you decide that you just want to go and subtract all willy-nilly and not take a look at whether the bottom number is bigger, what you're going to end up with is you're going to go 9, you're going to go like this. I can guarantee it. Because you're not paying attention to the numbers. So you're going to end up with a number that's 19. We're not adding, we're subtracting. And so when we're subtracting, what we need to do is 10 minus 9. We need to borrow. You take 10 away from here, you get 10. 10 minus 9 equals 1. That is what you have to do. When the number is bigger, and I cannot stress this enough, guys, because you are going to do it till I'm blue in the face. I could tell you till I'm blue in the face, and you are going to do it anyway. You need to make sure you look at the numbers. If the bottom number is bigger, you must borrow. If the bottom number is bigger, you must borrow. Okay, let's take a look at a few examples. Okay, what we need to do is we need to take a look at our numbers. First set of numbers, 8 minus 3. Top number's bigger. We can go ahead and subtract, like I said, all day long, and you're going to get 5. You can't take 5 away from 3. You can't. Okay, so what do we have to do? Well, we have to borrow. Every time we borrow, what we do is we take 1 away from the hundreds. It's going to become 5. And like I said, when we take 1 away from the hundreds, we end up with 10 tens blocks. So if I take 1 away from here, I end up with 10 more here. So I end up basically with 10 plus 3, which gives me 13. Okay? That's the way it works, right? Because if you look at the hundreds block, how many of those little tens blocks make up that 100? 10. Every time you borrow 10. Okay? So 13 minus 5, we can do that. It's 8. 5 minus 4, we can do that, and it's 1. Okay, guys, I'm being very serious with you. You must learn to borrow. If the number is bigger on the bottom, you need to borrow, and you need to go next door and borrow. If the number is bigger on the floor, go next door and borrow 10 more. That's the saying. If the number is bigger on the floor, go next door and borrow 10 more. Okay? If it's bigger on the top, subtract. 8 minus 6, 2. 5 minus 2, we can do that. We can take 2 away from 5. It's 3. We cannot take 5 away from 3. We can't. So if the number is bigger on the floor, go next door and borrow 10 more. So we take 1 away from the thousands, we borrow 10. That's going to become 13 because 10 plus 3 gives us 13. Can I take 5 away from 13? I absolutely can. I end up with 8. 2 minus 1 is 1. I cannot say this enough, guys. If the number is bigger on the bottom, on the floor, you need to borrow. Now, I'm going to show you a little trick, especially with 10,000s or 1,000 or 100, that may help you. Okay? So if we were to do this traditionally this looks like a mess. Okay? Because let's look at it this way. I have 0. So, and I have 7. I cannot take 7 away from 0. So if it's more on the floor, go next door, borrow 10 more. So if 0 is next door, then you need to keep looking for more. Okay? So we have 0 here. I have 0 here. So I can't borrow. I can't borrow from 0. I have 0 here. I can't borrow from 0. I still can't borrow from 0. I can borrow from here. I can take this 1. What happens is I add 10. So I have 10 here. Does that solve my problem here? Not at all. I'm still at 0. So what do I need to do? I need to continue to borrow. So if I borrow 1 from here, I get 10 here. Do you see that? If I take 1 from here, I end up with 10 here. Okay, I still need to get to this spot right here. So what I need to do is I need to borrow 1 from here, and I get to 10 here. Okay, because starting from here, if I have one 10,000s block, I don't even know how to draw that. That'd probably be some massive thing. What I end up with is 10,000s cubes. Okay, if I borrow 1 cube, I end up with 10 hundreds blocks. If I borrow 1 hundreds block, I end up with 10 tens blocks. If I borrow 1 10 block, I end up with 10 ones. Now, my number is bigger on the top. I can subtract. So I can take 7 away from 10, I get 3. I can take 1 away from 9, I get 8. I can take 4 away from 9, I get 5. I can take 7 away from 9, I get 2. Okay? That's a very hard way of doing a subtraction equation. What I may offer to you is maybe we can do it something like this. So notice how this is 999, and then you have a 10 here. Okay? What I'm going to say is go 9. What's 1 less than 10,000? 9,999. Now here's the kicker. I'm doing 1 short. When I do 1 short, what that means is that I have all bigger numbers on the top. So I can just subtract very easily. 9 minus 2, 2. 9 minus 1 is 8. 9 minus 4 is 5. And 9 minus 7 is 2. Now, here's the thing, because this isn't the right answer, because I just took 1 away from 10,000. I need to add 1, because then that would give me the 10,000 up top. So when I add 1 to 2,582, I get 2,583. How much time did that take as opposed to doing it this method? I would like for you to know how to do this method because it'll be very important, but this method also works very quick, very easily as well. And so if you know how to do this method, it could probably save you a little bit of time for sure as far as figuring out how to do it. Well, let's do it. Let's do another one that uses this method. So I would probably add the +1, so then that way you don't forget right off the bat. Let's do 1,000. 1,000 minus, let's say, 722. Okay, so my method is you have to hunt until you get something that you can borrow from. So we can borrow from here. This is going to become a 10. but that still doesn't solve my problem here, so that becomes a 9. This becomes a 10, but that still doesn't solve my problem here, so this becomes a 9, and this becomes a 10. Now we can subtract. 8, 7, 2. Or, what's 1 less than 1,000? 1 less than 1,000 is 999 plus 1. Would you agree with that? That equals 1,000. Okay. Minus 722. And it's going to equal an answer plus 1 and then a final answer. Let's do it. 7, 7, 2. If I take this and I add 1, I get 278. Okay, guys? This is subtraction, and this is subtraction with borrowing. If you have any questions, please feel free to watch this video again. You may ask me, but in a nutshell, that's subtraction and subtraction with borrowing. This is Mr. Wicklum signing off.